everybody, that wraps up the first ever season of Alone Frozen. You know, it wasn't perfect, but overall I did enjoy it, and any extra Alone content that I can get my hands on, I will of course devour. Let's talk about the season overall and maybe some complaints and some compliments to kick things off. First off, I don't think 6 contestants was enough. We, at the start of the season, didn't realize how much of an impact past seasons would have on this season, where, we had so many contestants who, in my opinion, tapped out earlier than they probably would have if it had been their first ever season. So, we saw people tapping out immediately, and a best example of that was Greg, who was clearly having some form of trauma from his past season really impact his ability to compete on this season. And, you're not going to be able to eliminate that from people coming back on the show. It's going to be present. But if, say, we had 2 more contestants, it sure makes it a lot better. If we have those 2 guys, the Greg and the Mark, who tap out in the first week, but you have 2 other people on the show, maybe they can go a little bit longer than a week to keep things more interesting. Next up, the editing. It's becoming a little bit too predictable, and I feel like there are too many elements of the actual survival side of things which we are just not seeing. Even in this episode, all of a sudden, Woniya just had this awesome piece of steel that she was using to clean the hide on her fox, and it's we didn't have any idea that she had that. Also, Michelle all of a sudden just had this cool net and really was just using it as basically a carrying bag, but we didn't see anything about that. And then it's just a little comment line at the bottom of the screen. How about, instead of building up these fake moments, that we actually get to see what everybody's doing. We get to see what resources people have. I want to know, does Woniya have 20 pounds of muscles saved up? I want to know. Is Michelle have absolutely no resources left at her disposal? I want to know. I want to show us the inventory on screen. Say hey, this is the calories that Woniya has stored. This is what she's had so far this year. Give us more. We want to consume more. But that's not even just a criticism of Alone Frozen. That's for the actual show. The complaints about the commercial cuts every time somebody draws the bow and arrow back is very valid, because it became so predictable as we went on through the season that anytime somebody was going hunting or trapping or whatever late into a segment, you might as well stand up and leave and go grab some popcorn, go grab a drink, go to the bathroom, because as soon as something interesting happens, we're cutting to commercial. Newsflash for the editors, the producers, everybody involved: the fans are going to watch regardless. You don't need to cliffhanger us every single commercial break. We're sticking around for the hour. We tuned in. We want to see what happens. Just show us. Give us that. And don't try to bait us into watching more, because we've already grabbed the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Okay, enough complaining. I think I had some compliments that I totally forgot. Yeah. Let's get into the episode. We'll start with Woniya, our winner, our survivor of the 50-day challenge, the champion of Alone Frozen, the contestant who has survived the longest in total now out of all contestants to ever appear on Alone. Very, very cool. I think her total is 123 days. being a contestant on Alone now. I think that is pretty awesome. You know, I think she's a very worthy winner. Very happy to see her win. And you know that she's a good winner when she finds out that she was the only person to have survived 50 days. The first thing she did, asked if everyone else was all right. Like, that is the person that you want to win. The person who, like, her first thought isn't like, holy crap, I have half a million dollars. I just won $500,000. No, her first thought is everybody else who participated all right? And that is pretty awesome, and very, very happy to see Woniya survive the 50 days. But let's run through the final 2 episodes and how she got there. You know, started off pretty poor for Woniya as she cuts her finger gathering tinder, wasn't wearing her gloves, you know, made a little mistake, slices the finger open. Thankfully had the first aid stuff there, wraps her finger up and is able to carry on. You know, that can very easily turn into a tap out, any sort of infection there, and she would have been forced to tap. So good thing that she handled that wound very well and kept herself in the competition, because, you know, with the way things were going with her, would have been very sad to see her tap out when we knew that she most likely had the resources to survive the 50 days. Woniya gets a visit from a fox who cleans out her trap and avoided her snare. You know, we see Woniya go in, upgrade her trap, you know, improve how she's positioning the snares, get everything set up, and sure enough, the next morning she has caught the fox, but not really on any of the parts she upgraded. It was just on some other random part of the trap. So, you know, maybe the upgrades didn't exactly get her the fox, but they kind of did, because the fox had to basically circle around the trap and ended up getting caught on a snare on the side. So that's a huge win for Woniya. Has the fox plus all of the other resources that she's been getting, you know, doing a little bit of trapping and having quite a bit of mussels and clams from the beach that she's been storing up all season long. I mentioned this earlier, but yeah, just randomly, Woniya just has a piece of steel that she apparently found on day 5 that we weren't told about. Like, who knows what else she found, what other resources Woniya found and had that we just didn't know about. Like that's a little frustrating as a fan, just to have to think, like, we have no idea how much stuff she had. Like, we have no clue. Like, I think at one point we saw her bringing up driftwood, but, like, how did she use that? No idea. And that's a little frustrating to know that the contestants have these resources, have collected these items, have stored up calories that we as fans and viewers are just never, ever aware of. Woniya's having issues with the entrance to her shelter, basically. The way that things have gone, she kind of got to crawl out the bottom of her shelter to get outside. So she just takes a day, takes an afternoon, redoes an entire entrance for her shelter. I think just her entrance looked better than some contestants' entire shelters that we've seen on the show before. And for Woniya, it wasn't even really a thought. She just threw that thing to get together and carried on with her life. At one point, she does mention that she thinks she has enough muscles to make it the final 2 weeks, which was very interesting because, you know, that was something we were shown once earlier in the season and then never really saw it mentioned ever again. Woniya did one hell of a Jordan Jonas impression as she took out a rabbit with her axe. Looked like the rabbit was caught in her snares, but still, you know, I think it was cool for her to pay homage to one of the Alone greats. Maybe it wasn't a Wolverine, but still pretty badass to see Woniya go after the rabbit with her axe. Woniya starts having issues with the smoke and decides to let her fire go out and hunker down in her sleeping bag for the night. Ends up basically just sleeping to give her eyes a rest And, it's the same issue that ended up taking Michelle out, but Woniya, basically just slept until her eyes felt better, which, might not have been that amazing of a strategy, but it worked. Instead of sitting there in more smoke, she said, well, the smoke's hurting my eyes. We're going to remove that element and carry on. So she's able to come back from the pain in her eyes. We do see her go attempt ice fishing, and then all of a sudden the subtitles just go 12 days, 9 days, 7 days, 5 days, 3 days, 2 days, 1 day, and a quarter of the season is just wiped out in a 30-second montage. Like, seriously, not one thing you could have shown us from there, one conversation Woniya had. There had to have been something. You just had 12 days of absolutely nothing, and then the helicopter shows up. Taylor is there, her partner, and we've ended the season. I just thought that was very, very anticlimactic for the season, just to hit day 12 and just be like, boom, over, done, let's get out of here. Very, very unsatisfying way to end the season. But before we move on, congratulations, Woniya. Very well-deserved win. Just wish that we would have got to see more of what you were doing, more of what you had accomplished on your journey, because I feel like there were things that we as viewers just did not get to see. Next up, second place, Michelle. Who had Michelle as second place? Who had Michelle in the top 3? Who even had Michelle in the top 4 at the start of the season? But here she is. I believe she made it to day 38. Not 100% sure on that. Almost doubled her stay from her original season. So huge props to Michelle. I think that she exceeded all of our expectations that we had for her, and overall she was just a really solid competitor this time around. The net. How does she just suddenly have a net? There's no mention, there's no shot, no notice of it. We don't get to see her make it. We only get one half shot of her even using it. That was a little bit of a letdown. One of the nicest pieces of gear somebody made all season long, and we get one random half shot of it for the entire season. Yeah, thanks a lot, History Channel, for just totally ignoring that for us. We see her trap a hare, and then from that point on, she goes hunting squirrels. Does it looked like she took a lot of shot at squirrels? We only see her catch one squirrel. Seemed like it was implied that she got more, but once again, show us if she got more. Like, how does it make it a worse show if we see her kill 3 squirrels versus 1 squirrel? Like what is the difference? Just show us everything. I don't get it. We see her shoot a grouse, doesn't kill it, and shockingly, we cut to commercial break. Everybody's favorite thing of the entire show, commercial breaks. We do come back from the commercial break, and Michelle's able to get a second shot off on the grouse, takes it down, and it looks like she's in a reasonably decent position to make it to day 50, and all of a sudden something goes haywire with her eyes. Way too much smoke into her eyes. We also saw the same issue with Woniya, and Michelle, she loses her vision in her left eye and ultimately decides that she has to tap out. So yeah, 12 more days. If she'd been able to weather the storm on the eye issue, I really think that she would have been able to make it to 50 days. And I think that that was an unfortunate way for her journey to end. Doesn't feel like, I don't know, just like an unsatisfying end to her journey, to basically get too much smoke in her eyes and have to tap out. Like that's just a very sad way to watch somebody go. And I hope that Michelle is really proud of what she accomplished on this season. And I hope that she helped to inspire many other people out there to get into survival and maybe even show up on Alone in the future. Lastly, we have Callie. We ended the last episode basically all knowing that she was going to go check her traps and then tap out, and that is exactly what happened. Really enjoyed Callie this season. I think she's one of the best competitors that has ever been on Alone, and wish that she would have been able there to battle it out with Woniya right to the end, but unfortunately she wasn't. Ends up tapping with about 20-ish days left. Don't know, maybe it was 22 days left. Yeah, and that's it, everybody. We made it through Alone Frozen. I will, of course, be back again for Season 10. I believe Season 10 is being filmed in northern Saskatchewan right now, which is not too far from where I live and is an area that my dad used to take me and my brother to go fishing when we were younger. So really looking forward to that. I know for me personally, a lot more interesting when I have a little bit more connection to the location that the show is being filmed. And if they are filming in northern Saskatchewan, it will be the closest I've ever been to the actual show. So very, very excited for that. But as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I'm out.